Hello guys, welcome to another video. As we all know, NATASHA DENONA recently came out with the My Mini Dream palette, well, with My Mini Dream collection, and a lot of you referred that rather this be an extension of my dream palette, this more looks like a I Need A Nude palette extension. Today I demonstrated two different looks. On this side we have my I Need A Nude palette, and on this eye we have my Mini Dream palette. I use same technique, and I basically today went just through the color story. I try to find the color story that matches this palette the most, and this is how it turned out. So I prepared for you swatches, and after that we're going to jump to the tutorial, and I'll see you at the end. Are you wondering if the newest NATASHA DENONA My Mini Dream palette is actually more color-wise extended version of the I Need A Nude palette rather than original My Dream palette? Well, let's check the swatches. So the top row is I Need A Nude palette, and here is My Mini Dream palette. The reason why I have more shades is because certain shades I did apply multiple times to see where it appears the most. Let's start with the most obvious. So the Nurture shade, which was originally from the My Mini Dream palette, is the undertone that you cannot find in I Need A Nude palette. It's pretty much the cool tone, and this has much more warmth into it. Speaking about the warmth, Reality shade, which is the deepest shade right here, is much more warmer as well. When it comes to deeper shades, it's much more warmer than the deepest shade from the I Need A Nude palette, and in performance they are different. This kind of surprised me. Mia was pretty much closest thing to the Passionate from the Mini Dream, but Mia is much more sheer, as that is kind of a tauper compared to this one, which is metallic. Now the Balance shade is something in between these two shades from I Need A Nude palette. Too deep and more skin-like, and this one, it's not that much comparable. Even though this is the lightest matte shade from the I Need A Nude, and then this one right here called Mesh is actually deeper in opacity than this one. Nurture, it was hard to find something like Nurture. In depth it is pretty much similar to a Trementir shade, but the undertone is different. And then here we have Whisper shade, which again the undertone is different, so I cannot place this one in this palette. Overall, my conclusion, as much as they seem familiar, the undertones are different, therefore your look will look different. Let's switch to the tutorial, because that is the best in presentation when it comes to this. Today's emphasis will be more on a color story, the difference between these two color stories, rather than on makeup technique. So I'm going in with the Balance shade, and I will spread that one with a big blending brush all across my lid. And also what I'm going to do is to make sure that this color is lifted towards the eyebrow, so that I can kind of peek through, so that I have transition later once I apply deeper shade. Obviously now when I spread this color like so, I'm going to get a bit lighter as I blend it, but I can always go back and add more, which I will, because I want to make sure that everything is covered. Adding another layer of the same one, and as you can see I'm using bigger blending brush. The reason for that is mainly because of the fact that this shade is pretty much light. Now I can go, I mean, you can even skip this step. This is clean blending brush just for the edges. You can do the same, since the color is so light, you can do the same thing with a bigger blending brush as well. Once everything is blended, I'm taking Nurture shade, and I will focus this one on the other portion of my eye, connecting this one to the previous one. This shade is still light enough in a sense that I can use it with the blending brush, but the next one, since it is so dark, I will of course have to go with the smaller brush. Once again, when everything is blended, I'm going in at the same position with the same shade and with the same brush, like so. And I'm going to now, once I feel like I diffused a lot of the color, now I can go slowly towards my crease and kind of lift this color. At this point it's not even necessary to take another brush. I think you can get a great effect with the same one as well. Going once again with the same color and took the access off and repeating from the center or where I placed this shade, which was right here, and slowly again placing that eyeshadow. In case you're using this palette, if you're happy with this type of a depth, you can stop here and not add the next shade I'm going to use because it is really dark. And if anything, you can use it as a liner to, you know, smudge the area around your eye. If you want to recreate this look, then we're going with the Loyalty shade. As you can see, I am using smaller brush and I will pack this one on the outer portion. But you know what? I'll rather take smaller, not blending, but the brush that I can pack this eyeshadow on, because you can see the difference, definitely. Place this on the outer edge, spread that color a little bit, and I'm going to grab that color again. So apply with a kind of little flat or pointy brush, and then make sure to diffuse this with the small blending brush. Just make sure to have a bigger opacity to use kind of brush that can pick the pigment. Now I want to go with the first shade I've used. I'm packing that one on my flat brush and applying that in my inner corner. I know this is not the perfect, at least for my skin tone now, shade to lighten up this area. I think during the summertime this one will be great for me. It's not going to be like too light. It's going to be much more like a skin tone depth, but as you can see, it's still like it can give the nice effect and lighten up enough this area right here. Now when it comes to this metallic shade right here, even though this is metallic shade, I just see this one more like a highlight. So yeah, I'm going to apply it underneath my eyebrow. That's where I like to apply this one, and my inner corner. Like this Wet Pen eyeshadow palette, this is kind of a more like essentials that you need in this one. So from the light to the depth, you'll have everything you need here. To smudge everything, you can even now take blending brush and just blend this one into the rest, because this one, like I mentioned, kind of acts like a highlighter, and also in my inner corner. And now for the Devotion shade, I will connect Devotion right between Passionate and the rest of the mattes. Again, taking my blending brush and blend everything in. With the balance, I'm going in right, well, actually across my lower lash line. This is a nice transitional shade to end this up towards your skin. Now I'm going to switch tapping to the Nurture shade, placing that mostly on the outer portion, leaving this inner part open for the lights. I'm going to smudge the darkest shade on the outer portion, but I will also blend it towards inner part a little bit. Now I'm going in with a darker metallic, and that one goes right into the center. If it's not picking up the best, then take the fixing spray and you can see the difference. And the lightest shimmer in my inner corner. Now I will blend them. I will apply some liner and mascara, and I will be switching to a next palette. I need a nude palette. I will start with the shade Mesh. So what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to replicate the same look with basically the most close eyeshadows from the My Mini Dream. I already know Mesh is going to be, it is a bit darker than the Balance shade. It will look differently on my skin. So Tender was the closest color when it comes to Nurture shade. You're definitely not gonna get that, it's not super warm, that the Nurture is super warm, but you're definitely going to have different effect. So this one is much more cooled toned than the Nurture, and you can see how it is much more deeper when you applied it. The closest one that I could pick from this palette. This is how it looks like. I can even go with a clean brush. Now, since this one is a bit too dark, I want to drag mesh a little bit in my inner corner, towards my inner corner, sorry. Silhouette is the deepest shade, and it's gonna go right on the edge. I will use a small blending brush to add a little bit more product and then to blend it. I'm gonna go back with a tender a little bit right here. Now when it comes to shimmers, I'm applying shade Mia. But this one actually, it's much more like a topper, which I mean, I absolutely love, but it's different in formulation than those metallics from Mini palette. So we'll be applying that one. Yeah, this one, especially on my skin, will look much more rosy. And it's pretty much fair in opacity. I'm gonna go with the shade Whisper for that connection between Mia and the mattes. Yeah, this one feels like much more fine in the opacity, in the formula. I'm going in with a bullet brush to combine everything. I usually don't film on this side, so it's a bit challenging to stay in focus. Okay, let me switch to a lower lash line. So here I'm starting with the shade Mesh all over my lid. Then I'm going into Tender shade. This is getting pretty much dark right away. So yeah, this is what I get without the silhouette, and now when I add silhouette, and this one is blending better and grabbing easier. I'm gonna go with a little bit of Whisper, even though I'm not a big fan of this color combined with these. At least as a transition shade for me, I see this color more as a my inner corner shade. And of course, Mia for my inner corner. So I will clean everything and I will apply lashes and mascara. To conclude everything, you guys, now when I not only swatch the palette, that's not all when we do swatches, like when they perform one on top of each other, when they perform on the eyes, it's actually what we see. So I will say that these are different. Now when it comes to depth, we do have similarities there. When it comes to undertones and finishes, these palettes are different, and this cannot be extension of I Need A Nude palette as much as it looks like it. Mainly because this one is so much, as the palette says, it's nude, it's cool toned, rather than this one. This is more neutral for me than warm. Like, it's not leaning too warm, so I would say that this looks much more neutral, and this one looks more cool tone. And me personally, I do prefer this color story. One thing that I realized, I don't know why, but this Loyalty shade actually performed, when it's applied on the lighter shades, it performed a little bit well, the pigment was harder to grab on, and you need to pay attention how you apply that one. Where when you apply it before anything, the pigment is grabbing so beautifully. So I don't know what's going on with that. I didn't have that issue on this side. But yeah, now when I literally see it one side next to each other, trying to replicate the most close colors that I could. And I know this is not supposed to be like identical colors, even though we already have one which is extension, but in the color story wise, this is again leaning more cool tone, where for me this one is much more of a neutral. Again, not that warm that I would call this a warm palette, not really, but again, they're giving me different vibes, you guys. As much as they look close and they're not like that super distinct, they are different. That's just my personal opinion based now on trying these palettes plenty of times and now seeing literally not only the swatches but literally one side next to each other. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section down below what are your thoughts. Have you purchased any of these 3 palettes, and what is your experience with them? Like I mentioned, the one that I'm enjoying the most is definitely my dream palette. The variety and everything, obviously this is mini, so it's different when it comes to wearability, but I really do love that palette. Yeah, I enjoyed that one much more than I Need A Nude palette. I know I mentioned it a couple of times, but it's just the way it is. Okay, I will conclude this video and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.